Plitvice Lakes of Croatia. Accessible luxury, a corner of paradise, a pearl of the Adriatic coast. These are just some of the names that Croatia has been given. It's hard to disagree with these descriptions, as this country is a true tourist gift, with 1,000 shades of green and blue, a unique combination of plant life, and the cleanest sea in Europe. Krk, Rovinj, Rijeka, Šibenik, Dubrovnik, Split, and Trogir are just a few of the many ancient Croatian cities with a rich historical heritage that their grateful residents are proud of and conscientiously preserve for future generations. In addition, the areas in these parts are real natural oases, spread among the stunning Mediterranean beauty, the crown of which is the Adriatic coast. The most famous natural attractions of Croatia, which are under state protection, are 8 national parks and 11 natural ones. Their total area is 384 square miles, 125 of which are water resources of the country. All parks are extremely beautiful. It's no wonder that Croatia has been receiving the Blue Flag from UNESCO for several years, a prestigious eco-certificate that is awarded to countries in Europe, Africa, the Caribbean, New Zealand, and Canada, based on the decision of an independent international jury. This honorary award was given to Croatia not only for the impeccable cleanliness of the Adriatic Sea with its azure waters, but also for the careful preservation of all natural wealth by the state. The Plitvice Lakes, the Krk Town Park, the Beruni Islands, and the Kornati are the pride and priceless treasure of the Republic of Croatia. We intend to invite you on a video journey, the impressions of which we hope will hardly leave you indifferent, since the natural beauty of Croatia is truly enchanting. Among the country's most renowned natural landmarks, Plitvice Lakes National Park stands as a picturesque wonder and one of the most stunning locales in Europe. The Plitvice Lakes are situated in the central part of Croatia, amid dense forests in the basin of the Dinaric Highlands, previously marked as the Devil's Gardens on ancient maps. This unique location is featured in an ancient legend recounting a severe drought and the presence of the Black Queen. It seems that an extended lack of rainfall brought hunger and hardship to Croatia. Mother Earth, no longer able to endure the suffering, pleaded for life-giving rain. The sky took pity on the people who were enduring thirst. According to the legend, the Black Queen stepped onto the depleted land accompanied by thunder, lightning, wind, and rain. Following a benevolent downpour, lakes materialized in the form of water-filled bowls, as a provision for a rainy day. The water exhibited an unusual hue, appearing intentionally mixed with turquoise, not forgetting to include cerulean, ultramarine, and a touch of emerald gemstones. Certainly, there are no artificial water dyes in the Plitvice Lakes, and there never could be. Mother Nature took care of everything. "16 Plitvice Lakes gleam in a high mountain valley, like pearls in a setting of thick forest, and no one can avert their gaze upon first sight. Each lake flows into the next, forming frothy, playful waterfalls. The Plitvice Lakes form two distinct cascading groups, upper and lower. It's worth noting that this blue beauty is by no means static. As surprising as it may be, every year, new lakes and waterfalls are born in Plitvice. Researchers have found that this occurs thanks to calcophytes, chalky plants. The mountain rocks of Plitvice consist mainly of limestone, so local waters of rivers and lakes are enriched with soluble lime. Calcophytes absorb calcium oxide from the water and, upon drying, form solid deposits. Branches, twigs, and leaves that fall into the rivers seem to turn into stone after a year or two. Nature is the most talented sculptor, creating amazing things. Carefully, slowly, and diligently. This is how genuine incrustation is born. Limestone dams grow slowly, only a few inches per year, but over time, they eventually obstruct the river's flow. Gradually, the powerful force of water breaks through the porous, chalky dam, and that's how new waterfalls arise. When the Plitvice Lakes formed? Still not definitively known to this day. Hydrologists have not reached a consensus, attempting to find a compelling answer to this question. According to one version, the Plitvice Lakes emerged in the post-glacial period, and the crucial role in their formation was played by mosses, whose evolution contributed to the stepped formation of water bodies. Who knows? The only indisputable fact is that the uniqueness of the lakes lies in the amazing story of their origin. It happened without human involvement. Nature itself worked on the park, creating a whimsical landscape. All 16 of the largest Plitvice Lakes are arranged like a large inclined staircase. It's challenging to determine who and when they were divided into upper and lower lakes. Probably the landscape feature of the lakes had the greatest influence on their names. Although it must be said, they are not very cheerful legends about almost every one of the Plitvice Lakes. For example, in Lake Koldziak, 30 goat kids once drowned while trying to escape from a wolf on fragile ice during winter. After this incident, the lake was named Goat Lake, which is pronounced as Koldziak in Croatian. Other legends are even more tragic. We didn't intend to talk about it, but there's no hiding the truth. The overwhelming majority of the Plitvice Lakes are named after drowned individuals. That's right. Among them were those who forgot about caution and recklessly ignored the rules of behavior on the water, jumping into the lakes head first. 2 years ago, swimming in the lakes was still allowed, but now the prohibition is universal. The 12 upper lakes constitute, so to speak, the powerful source of the first cascade, gradually transitioning into the 4 lower lakes. The steps of the Plitvice Stairs are formed by the creation of travertine barriers. Water descends from one ledge with a small body of water to another, and so on. Among the upper lakes, the largest is the lake with the meaningful name Farewell. It is located at an elevation of 2,000 feet above sea level, while, for example, the lower Novakovica Broad Lake is 436 feet below sea level. Beneath the cascading ledge of the upper lakes lies another Plitvice wonder, the cave garden with grottos and caves, concluding with the mentioned Koldziak Lake, into which the waters of sparkling waterfalls swiftly descend. The area of Lake Koldziak is 203 acres. Its length is almost 2 miles, and its depth reaches 147 feet. It would take at least 2 hours to walk around its shore, so a ferry transports visitors through it. Second in size, as we noted, is that very Farewell Lake. Its depth reaching 121 feet. The area, 168 acres, and it stretches for 1.5 miles. The top 3 largest is completed by Plitvice Lake, with an area of 30 acres. In total, all 3 lakes make up 75% of the entire water area of the reserve, which is almost 5 miles. The lakes are tightly surrounded by limestone mountains, and flowing from the hollow, form the first waterfall. The enrichment of the Plitvice Lakes with crystal clear water occurs thanks to the full flowing rivers of Plitvice, Rieka, and Korana. Above the valley of the latter is an excellent observation platform offering stunning panoramas. All Plitvice Lakes are closely interconnected with numerous waterfalls, passing water tongues to each other in a chain. The main, so to speak, waterfalls are considered the Great Cascade, Kolzaki, Batinovachki, Milanovachki, Galovachki, and Milkiterne. However, at the end of the lake chain is the most famous and beautiful waterfall, Stastavachi. The waters creating its grandeur plummet astonishingly from a height of over 230 feet. It's impossible to look away. It's that beautiful. The lakes and waterfalls of the park are known for their unique color palette, from sky blue to cornflower blue, from pale azure to emerald green. Moreover, the watercolor always changes and plays with shades depending on the angle of sunlight. Another remarkable feature of the Plitvice Lakes is the sound effects created by the swift water. It not only gently splashes and drips, but when falling from above, literally roars. The streams are so powerful and large that a dense fog rises from them in the air. Not the kind we're used to seeing on a September morning while rushing about our business. It consists of tiny silvery droplets. Through this diamond veil, the emerald beauty peeks out. Trees, shrubs, bushes bending their branches toward the waterfall streams. And then the impression is created that everything around is not real, but rather a fancifully dreamed-up artistic painting. It seems that just by touching it, it will shatter into myriad crystal silver crystals. That's the way it is. So friends, we don't touch this earthly beauty. It's hard to believe that in our age of relentless environmental pollution, there are still such untouched corners of nature as the Plitvice Lakes. Presumably, that's why it's prohibited to have picnics, fish, light fires, bring domestic animals, and especially swim in the lakes within the park's territory. All pleasure boats operate on electric power, thus protecting the water lakes from harmful fuel emissions. In the park, the golden rule has long been in effect. What falls into the water must remain in it. The lakes themselves are never cleaned. Fallen trees and broken branches are not removed, and no one pulls out tree stumps and fallen leaves. Walking through the park and admiring the lakes, you will undoubtedly notice a vast amount of various debris. Especially attentive, tourists might even see sunken boats. The lakes remain absolutely untouched, ensuring the viability of the Plitvice ecosystem. Immediately comes to mind, maybe it should be this way to preserve it for future generations. If the number of Plitvice Lakes is known, then no one has ever counted the waterfalls. Not only because their number constantly increases, but also because there are too many to keep track of. However, an approximate number is still known, about 150. Moreover, within the territory of the Plitvice Lakes National Park, there are 36 caves and grottos. Among them are unique ones because they are located under the very waterfalls. In the reserve, the eyes delight in untouched beech and coniferous forests that have been preserved since ancient times and have not lost their natural ability to regenerate. Interestingly, there is a separate reserve zone in the national park, access to which is strictly prohibited for everyone except gamekeepers. It is well known that rare brown bears, uncommon for all of Europe, are found in Plitvice. One of the local mountain ranges is even named Medvedyak, which means bear. There is a belief that the Plitvice Lakes will exist as long as at least one bear remains alive. The wars of the late 20th century in the territory of the former Yugoslavia critically reduced the number of these wonderful animals. Let's hope that the number of bears will not change in the near future. In addition to bears, Plitvice is home to many other animals and birds. The diversity of which is truly astonishing. But perhaps the most interesting sight is watching wild boars peacefully eating acorns in beech forests. Some photographers intentionally come to the lakes to capture rare photos. They find reliable hiding places in beach clearings, wear camouflage clothing, and patiently wait for that spectacular shot they came for. The beauty of Plitvice Lakes takes your breath away in any season. In winter, it is unsurpassed. The reserve turns into the real kingdom of the Snow Queen. The lakes and waterfalls freeze, forming amazing ice patterns. In autumn, the forest, along with the lakeside rare forest and bushes, is painted in such reddish-yellow colors that it seems the entire park is covered in gold. Against the backdrop of the azure lakes, this crimson foliage of autumn is especially beautiful. In summer and spring, oh, then you simply go crazy with emerald and rare azure. In a word, whenever you visit the Plitvice Lakes, there will be an abundance of impressions, admiration, and enjoyment. Humans have inhabited the territories of the current Plitvice Lakes since ancient times. Illyrian peoples were succeeded by Thracian and Celtic tribes. They were displaced by the mighty Roman Empire, and after its collapse, Plitvice fell under the Avar Khaganate, only to be later visited by the Turks and southern Slavs. Research surveys indicate that the Plitvice Lakes in the territory of present-day Croatia were formed about 4,000 years ago. In the 17th century, these lands were called the Devil's Gardens. Local residents hesitated to venture into the forests because they considered them enchanted and filled with unholy forces. Dominik Vukosovic, a chronicler and priest from Oleksii, was the first to mention the name Plitvice Lakes. His records date back to the year 1777. Earlier, during the 15th and 16th centuries, this area witnessed the confrontation between two powerful empires of the time, the Austrian and Ottoman. The actual scientific research of Plitvice began in 1850, when the first, albeit approximate, limnographical depth measurements of the lake were obtained, and the first geological exploration of the area was conducted. Later, in 1893, at the initiative of Gustav Janacek, a professor at the University of Zagreb, the Society of Enthusiasts was established on a purely voluntary basis, which was engaged in the greening and landscaping of the Plitvice Lakes. The significant credit for recognizing the park as a national treasure of the country, then Yugoslavia, of which Croatia was a part, goes to the Croatian academician Ivo Pelević. What did he do? You might ask. Nothing special. The academician simply and clearly stated once that there are lakes and waterfalls everywhere. But there is nowhere like Plitvice. Few could argue that the patriotic academician spoke untruthfully. It was Ivo Pelević who drew attention to the need to protect the country's unique natural resource from destructive human intervention. On April 8, 1949, the government of the former Yugoslavia passed a law on the protection of the Plitvice Lakes, and the park was declared a national park. Now, every year on this day, Croatia celebrates the National Park Plitvice Lakes Day. On the occasion of the celebrations, patriotic patrons and benefactors spare no effort in providing financial support to the national park. It is worth noting that until 1958, the park's territory was inaccessible to visitors. Only scientific research on ichthyology, soil science, ornithology, botany, geography, and climatology was carried out here. As a result of this crucial scientific activity, a multi-vector roadmap for the development of Plitvice was proposed. At that time, the not-so-bad idea of building hiking trails in the park also emerged. In 1961, the Immerse biological station was established, and in 1975, a scientific laboratory was organized. Without the well-funded conclusions of this laboratory, it was impossible to collect the necessary documents to apply for Plitvice Lakes to be included in the UNESCO World Heritage List. Four years of hard work by a large group of scientists and enthusiastic activists proved not to be in vain. Since 1979, the Plitvice Lakes National Park has been included in the UNESCO list of attractions. This decision prompted the implementation of the state program, which provided practical activities for organizing tourist visits to the national park. In 1983, environmentally safe watercraft were purchased. Convenient hiking trails and reliable wooden walkways were laid, allowing visitors to move only on them. Such were the ultimate requirements of scientists. In addition, an unprecedented advertising campaign was launched in the country to attract future tourists to Croatia with its unparalleled Plitvice Lakes. Meanwhile, not all of the park's history was cloudless. It has had its share of sad pages. Picturesque places, reminiscent of impassable tropical jungles in some areas, often became the scene of armed clashes during the Yugoslav War in the early 90s. Responsible state institutions of Croatia did everything possible to clear the park of explosive items. But even today, turbulent years occasionally remind themselves. In the most remote corners of the park, gamekeepers sometimes find rusty explosives. Despite all the problems of the past, this amazing place deserves to be visited. A complex of lakes with unparalleled waterfalls and lush vegetation. It all resembles a fairyland where elves, mermaids, forest nymphs, and water spirits live. Therefore, Plitvice Lakes are worth seeing with your own eyes. There are almost no competitors to the park as a tourist location. Every year, the national park gratefully welcomes 1.5 million people. And this astonishing natural beauty never fails to evoke admiration in everyone, without exception. It's not surprising that numerous producers and documentarians from large and small film companies worldwide knock on the doors of those involved in preserving the Croatian lake gem. Especially persistent among them are Italian and German cinematographers. No wonder. Obtaining the coveted permission to shoot in the natural paradise, using at least one of the 16 Plitvice Lakes as a backdrop, is not the worst dream in a producer's life. The most focused attention in the national park is given to the protection of lake algae, lichens, and simple microorganisms. They are directly involved in important calcification processes, the formation of hard limestone deposits, travertines, which affect the hydrobalance of the reserve. There are quite a few limestone rocks on the European continent, but only here, at the Plitvice Lakes, ideal conditions for travertine formation, limestone deposits, have been preserved. First and foremost, the water must be spotless and not contain an excess of organic compounds. Secondly, simple mosses play a crucial role. They serve as a matrix for the growth of limestone deposits. To make a comparison, this is somewhat similar to growing chips and transistors in technical laboratories, nanometer by nanometer on impeccably clean bases. Nature also cultivates limestone substances, skillfully, but slowly. When you visit Plitvice Park and have a convenient opportunity, observe the moss. Upon closer inspection, you'll notice vivid green clusters of young moss. In some places, you'll see completely different ones, slightly dried and yellowed. Touch them. The green ones will be soft and pleasant to the touch, while the yellowed ones will be prickly and rigid. All because billions of bacteria have already made a home for themselves from the moss and continue the slow construction of an even sturdier structure. Take a close look and see how densely the moss grows on each of the Plitvice waterfalls. Thanks to such wonders from nature's chemistry, we can now marvel at cascading lakes and breathtaking waterfalls. If you look into the depths of the lakes, you'll encounter amazing sculptures of the most whimsical forms and patterns, a true artistic avant-garde. Palaces with statues and candelabras that were abandoned by their owners thousands of years ago. You've probably heard of the Roman Colosseum. Well, It's built from travertine blocks and has been admired for centuries. By the way, similar limestone formations are observed in Yellowstone. The process of travertine formation depends on how a particular type of moss grows. Some mosses grow so much that entire travertine caves are formed as a result. But that's a completely different story that we will definitely tell you about. The waters of Plitvice are extremely rich in fish and phytoplankton. Moreover, 2 species of crab and an equal number of crayfish inhabit them. All lakes, rivers, and smaller water resources in the park are literally teeming with fish. Trout, roach, and chub swim up to tourists without the slightest fear, competing with ducks to grab the breadcrumbs generously offered by visitors. There are 22 species of amphibians in the reserve, and only 16 species of reptiles. Apparently, they are greatly influenced by the cold Plitvice winter with snowy drifts. The park's forests are home to about 200 species of animals, half of which are mammals, including moles, field mice, hedgehogs, forest martens, wolves, foxes, lynxes, deer, noble deer, wild boars, squirrels, and badgers are also present. You can spot an otter in the lakes and on their shores. And it's very pleasing that the population of these animals today does not concern and does not require additional conservation efforts. Unfortunately, the lynx population in the national park's forests is critically low. The last representatives of this species in Croatia were seen in 1903. Attempts to improve the situation were only made in 1973. 3 pairs of lynxes were brought to the Slovak Carpathians. After 5 years, it was possible to talk about the successful assimilation of these beautiful animals. Today, lynxes are under the strictest state protection in Croatia and have the status of a rare species. It is worth saying a few words about foxes, and not at all to remind us once again of them as very cute, red-tailed, cunning creatures. In the park, they do not shy away from local residents or numerous tourists. The thing is, in the national park, they are quite large, weighing 13 to 22 pounds. It will be hard to find a conservationist who is not pleased with this, because it only means one thing. Foxes in the park are comfortable, and they have enough food. The park also deserves attention for its large population of insects, of which there are about 320 species in the reserve, 75 of which lead a diurnal lifestyle. And believe me, for these delicate winged beauties among the Plitvice Lakes and lush vegetation, there is enough nectar. The world is filled with numerous places that captivate with their natural beauty, too many to count. These natural wonders are often referred to as places of power, as they provide a sense of energy and a refreshing experience. The undeniable fact is that nature holds a profound influence on people, and those open to it will undoubtedly find inspiration in its beauty. Unquestionably, one of these special and awe-inspiring places of power is Plitvice Lakes National Park. Each year, tens of thousands of travelers visit this destination, not only to marvel at Croatia's historical and architectural landmarks, but also to revel in its unique natural beauty. It's worth emphasizing once again that Plitvice Lakes are a paradise for tourists. However, not the entire park is open for unrestricted access. Only resource management specialists have the right to enter the reserve zone. The rest of the park is open for exploration. The purest air, picturesque landscapes of blue lakes with waterfalls will shine exclusively for you for several hours. Presumably for these reasons, the vast majority of Plitvice Lakes visitors prefer hiking. It's the primary form of recreation. The numerous wooden walkways and trails winding through the park allow you to savor unparalleled landscapes. Only the sound of rushing water and the singing of birds easily drown out all the tourist noise. Being amid the Plitvice Lakes, you sense from the very beginning that nature dominates over humans and constantly reminds us that we are her guests in her realm. Weather conditions in Plitvice Lakes National Park are generally favorable. However, there are some peculiarities, as the lakes are located on the border of two climatic zones, maritime and continental. All park visitors should be aware that the air temperature here is 3 to 5 degrees lower than on the Adriatic coast, where you may have endured scorching heat. In Plitvice, precipitation and overcast weather are not uncommon. During rains, the temperature difference can be as much as 15 degrees. Tourists need to understand that the climate in continental Croatia significantly differs from the coastal climate. The warm sea hosts palm trees, cacti, olive groves, practically no winters, while at Plitvice Lakes, in the mountains, coniferous and deciduous forests prevail, and there will be snow in winter. One could talk endlessly about the uniqueness of the national park. Nevertheless, it would be much better to visit Croatia to see the natural wonder of Plitvice Lakes with your own eyes, forever leaving unforgettable impressions and wonderful photographs of it. Because today, the park is a uniquely enchanting space where rare species of animals, birds, and plants thrive. Additionally, Plitvice Lakes will be a splendid place for your especially rejuvenating retreat. It is a genuine power spot where untouched nature nurtures and revitalizes with energy. How delightful that Plitvice Lakes are now embraced by such a serene hush, pleasantly interrupted only by the melodic chirping of birds, the gentle hum of insects, the soothing sound of flowing water, and the exclamations of awestruck tourists. The entire park, right down to the tiniest droplet of water, is an invaluable gem in the crown of Croatia's magnificent beauty.